I've got my rosemary here to try to be as witchy as possible. To be a witcher. I don't know. Uh, I want it to be like hanging, like, good evening. It's late. The perfect time for another episode of Late Listening. So let's talk about witching hour. Not the witching hour, the time when the spirits appear and paranormal activity is at its peak, but Witching Hour, the 2005 album by the band Ladytron. I love this album so much I have a whole bunch of different copies of it. I got the original one, I got the one with the remixes. This is the 2010 reissue. Also the remix one with like it has the regular album and then it has a whole bunch of remixes. Is this even the same? No, it's different. It's like a promo, I guess. Recorded in early 2004, this was not released until 2005 because of label troubles and all kinds of things that I don't want to talk about in this video. And last year, it turned 20 years old. I have here the vinyl reissue. You might remember this from my year-end video, the best of 2025, when I talked about reissues. This was one that I highlighted. So in this video, I will talk about why Witching Hour is my favorite Ladytron album, and give a little background as to what forces aligned in order for the band to make this great leap forward. It is certainly a highly evolved beast as well as a masterpiece, and I do not use that word lightly. I believe this record to be the definitive Ladytron, and I never get tired of listening to it. It's treated me well over the years. I think of Witching Hour in terms of weight, in terms of magnitude. Like, 604 and Light and Magic are CD size albums. They're good records, they're fun, they're interesting. But Witching Hour is this big bad bitch of a vinyl. And, you know, that's how I think of their catalog at this point. And I'm sorry to say, like, still now, I listen to Ladytron off and on, their more recent records, but I still go back to Witching Hour the most. I really feel like it is just the peak. I don't know if they'll ever be able to top it. Probably not. It's funny, the sticker says 20th Anniversary 2LP Black Vinyl Edition, as if like black vinyl is a unique thing. I guess nowadays they have so many colorful vinyls that like people are like, oh, black vinyl, that's cool. Like, did you know that vinyl is supposed to be black originally? And then also this comes with a stencil too. Oops, is it upside down? This also comes with a stencil for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I guess they just needed something to put in there to like make it, you know, make fans want to buy it. I was just excited for the remaster, you know. I don't really need a stencil for my 8th grade notebook. This is from an interview with XLR8R, or Accelerator, from 2005. Upon hearing Witching Hour for the first time, Steve Pross, formerly the manager of Ladytron's now defunct label Emperor Norton, because they were having all kinds of label trouble at this time, but I'm not going to go into that in this video. Anyway, Steve Pross took Daniel Hunt aside, and Daniel Hunt, of course, is the main songwriter, the keyboardist, and the producer, or he helps with production for Ladytron, the main guy. Steve Pross said, "You are now the band you were pretending to be 5 years ago." And I like that quote. Others might have interpreted this as a backhanded compliment, but Daniel Hunt knew exactly what Steve Pross was trying to say. "I completely understood it," he says, on the line from his Liverpool flat. "I don't think he meant to discredit what we were doing before, but I don't feel like we were aspiring to be something anymore." And I have to agree. I feel like Witching Hour is really a game changer. It's a major shift for Ladytron in terms of their sound. Their early records, you know, are very fun, but I find Witching Hour to be the most re-listenable. I'm always finding new little sounds or reinterpreting lyrics, even now, 20 years later. Ladytron's increased confidence in their ability, Daniel Hunt says, was due to spending most of 2003 on the road honing their craft. Quote, "We hadn't really toured properly before we recorded Light and Magic," he says. "When we finished, we had become such a monster live that it was just night and day from before. It had become something mean and screechy and dynamic. We'd learned so much, and there was so much we wanted to do. That's from the same interview. And that quote, something we'd become something mean and screechy and dynamic. I feel like really kind of sums up the record in a lot of ways. And it's not only the sonic landscape that shifted at this time. Lyrically, the goofy, jokey, nonsensical lyrics are replaced with real muscular songwriting that's kind of buried underneath all the fuzzy synths and guitars and distortion. Their earlier aesthetic of glitchy plastic playgirls and computerized staccato beats is kind of given way to dark digital witchery. They've really charted new territory, and whereas before you could kind of hear their influences pretty clearly, like 604 and Light and Magic. I mean, they sound like Ladytron, but they also sound like a host of other bands. They were lumped into the Electro Clash movement. But Witching Hour stands alone, and it's when you hear that, it really doesn't sound like anything else. It's kind of almost shoegazy at times. That's another contrast, actually, to the previous work, is I feel like the thematic flow of this record is just amazing. Everything fits together so well. And I felt that way about 604 as well. It also has a pretty strong through line, like your strange AI girlfriend started a band with her cyborg clones, and they all dress the same, and you can't tell male from female. But on Light and Magic, the songs were much more varied, and it became a little bit darker, but it was also kind of wacky at times, and you could tell that the songwriting had improved a lot. These songs stand the test of time a little bit more, and I think it's a little bit more re-listenable than 604. And then, of course, Witching Hour just brings it up to the very next level, and it's all of a sudden they're really like a band to remember and to be, taken seriously. Maybe you could say they, at the Witching Hour, the barrier between this world and the next is so thin. So maybe they're crossing that barrier on this album. For Ladytron's 12-month-long tour following Light and Magic, they actually punched up their live sound, adding drummer Keith York, formerly of Broadcast, and bassist Andrea Goldsworthy to their lineup. And they actually quit using sequenced beats and loops on stage, which was a huge step forward for the band. They just wanted to play all the parts in real time. Miro Arroyo says, "We used to play with a laboratory setup on stage," and that's referring to the 15 vintage analog synths that they used to play every night. It just felt really limiting, like we couldn't go anywhere without it being tied to a loop. And then Daniel Hunt adds, "We wanted to explore something that was more dynamic. The first two albums sound very serene and small compared to how the tracks ended up sounding live, when they became harder and more powerful." Drummer Keith York plays both sampled sounds from drum pads and also a full kit that's mic'd and effected just to capture the essence of Witching Hour's heavily treated beats. It helped that York played drums on about half of the album as well, and he contributed quite a bit to the creation of the drum sounds. Although York and Goldsworthy are sidemen, they bring a lot to the process. And also interesting to note, that tour was from 2003, and Ladytron was supported by Franz Ferdinand, who were blowing up at the time. And so each show that they would play, the crowds got bigger and bigger because Franz Ferdinand, of course, was just rocketing up in popularity. And then that was actually helping Ladytron find a bigger audience. So it was kind of interesting. Ladytron's lyrics have often been clever and memorable, but they were also often silly or kind of winking at the listener. I couldn't really take them seriously. I mean, it worked for the wacky looping synths and the drum machines, especially from the 604 era. It was music for robots, but robots who could appreciate a catchy melody. Helen Marnie is, after all, a classically trained pianist. When they sang from the perspective of an elevator in a department store, or about flicking your switch on Light and Magic, or when they were singing about a startup chime or a cracked LCD screen, these songs were great in their way, but Light and Magic has this kind of like Devo-like machine imagery, and I felt like it was kind of running its course. These two records are great for what they are, but it's like, they were becoming a bit of a one-trick pony. Like, where could they go from here? And were they always going to be wearing the same clothes all the time? The answer is no. One more thing about Light and Magic that's worth noting is that their first minor hit came from this album, a song called 17. It was a hit in Australia, Sweden, and Spain. And Daniel Hunt said in an interview, "I know every group will say this, but we've always tried to avoid commercial pressures." And he said that he's glad that 17 didn't become a huge song in the UK or the US because, quote, "It was small and interesting, like the band. I would have hated it if it had become an albatross." Dude, what have you got against albatrosses? Small and interesting is how I feel about their debut, 604, which is whimsical and silly, kind of derivative, but unique enough to be memorable. As I mentioned, Light and Magic is still whimsical, but much darker overall, giving some hint of what's to come, like the sound of Blue Jeans, although not the lyrics. And especially in the track Evil, which, with live drums and fuzzier bass, could have been on Witching Hour. But now the LCD has cracked, and the storm screams through the broken glass, frying the electronics in a glorious, distorted, flickering atmosphere. We have joined the ghosts inside the bleeding machine. As for the production of the record, Daniel Hunt wrote the bulk of the material for Ladytron's first two records. But on Witching Hour, the other members, who are Mira Arroyo, who sings and plays keyboards, Helen Marnie, also vocals and keyboards, and Ruben Wu, keyboards and production, contributed much more to the songwriting. Jim Abbas produced the album, and who in 40 years of producing has worked with Bjork, Sneaker Pimps, Massive Attack, Placebo, DJ Shadow, and many others. Although Abbas was a huge part of shaping the production and the sound of this record, several of the vocal and instrumental tracks from the original demos actually made it onto the album, which is kind of cool. I think that one of the subtle themes of this record is sun, or the lack of sun. It seems to be echoed many times in the lyrics, compared to lyrics from like This Is Our Sound from 604, where Helen Marnie sings, and you see how we've entered another dimension. Almost every song on Witching Hour has amazing lyrics. I say almost because I can't understand Bulgarian. And even when it's not clear what Helen Marnie is singing about, I feel like her lyrics still paint a really nice picture and leave open to interpretation a lot of different kinds of moods and feelings and imagery. I know that Ladytron has been criticized before for having lyrics about nothing, but I like interpretive lyrics. I like those kind of impressionistic poems that, you can put anything to that. They sound really cool. There's a lot more hiding between the lines and in the dark depths on this album than on their previous work, which seemed to not be able to get past the shiny surface. All right, let's go track by track, and I'll give you my little interpretations of the songs and the lyrics and so on, and that'll be the album review. Track 1, High Rise. What a great opening track. It comes in with that kind of fuzzy, distorted sound. Wait for it. Yeah. You can't tell what's a guitar and what's a synth, and it all blends into this beautiful, fuzzy, distorted mix. It even has a kind of a grungy, non-guitar solo around the 3-minute mark. I love the lyrics of the chorus. We are on the same high, you and I. Open on the same page, no sunrise. It's so simple, yet it's a perfect summary of this album. I feel like they set the theme right there. Like, there is no sunrise, there's no hope for us, but we're together. It's like you are welcome to exist in this druggy, fuzzy darkness. You are not alone, but you're also damaged. And I'm damaged too. The spell has been cast, we are on the same page of the grimoire, and here we go. Ladytron often treats synths with guitar overdrive and distortion pedals. They send their guitars through electro-harmonic synth pedals on several of the songs. And in that way, it's difficult to figure out what's a synth and what's a guitar, or is it like both, kind of blended together. For example, the droning lead sound on High Rise is ambiguous, but it's actually a guitar being played with an EBow. Mira Arroyo has said, there's been guitar on all the records, but people are saying on this one it's much more dominant. But the guitar is treated so much, it's like the stuff you get in krautrock or shoegaze records. It's just being used as a sound wave. That was from an interview with Remix Magazine from 2005. Track 2, the ultimate Ladytron track. If you know any Ladytron song, you know this song. Destroy Everything You Touch. I feel like this is the one that casts the longest shadow. This is the one that they still can't escape from. 3 out of 4 members of the band were always DJing in their free time. And I feel like it shows in songs like this. I think these might be my favorite lyrics from any pop song ever. Destroy everything you touch today. Destroy me in this way. Anything that may desert you cannot hurt you. You only have to look behind you at who's undermined you. Destroy everything you touch today. Destroy me in this way. Everything you touch, you don't feel. Do not know what you steal. Shakes your hand, takes your gun, walks you out of the sun. Again, the absence of sun, the removal of sun. And the whole song is so catchy. It's like, it's just hooks. It's 2 hooks. It's 2 choruses, basically, in my opinion. I don't even think of it as like verse chorus. It's so propulsive and catchy. It's such a banger. And I love the menacing synth at the end, too. The music video of this song is also really cool. It's very surreal. The band members' heads are like part of the landscapes in this kind of looks like an Asian ink brush painting or something. And they're blowing snow off the mountains, causing a blizzard that they themselves in miniature are fighting against. It's really cool. Check it out if you can find a higher quality version of it. All right, track 3, International Dateline. This kind of brings things back down to a spookier altitude, away from the dance floor high of the previous banger. This is kind of an unsettling horror breakup song, in my opinion. It begins with lyrics about screaming through the walls, bleeding all over me, but then it kind of transitions into a surreal escape, crossing the international date line. Let's end it here. So it's like, you know, the demarcation of the end of the relationship and possibly the continuing into something new. An end is always a beginning, right? When Helen Marnie sings Let's Leave It Here, it almost sounds like a relief. The one thing that I don't like so much is I don't really care for Daniel Hunt's backing vocals. You can barely hear it, but if you have headphones on, it's a little bit clearer, and I wish it was Mira Arroyo backing her up. I just feel like I don't like the sound of his voice. I don't know. It's kind of mean to say. Luckily, he's pretty far back in the mix, so you probably won't notice if you just, casually listen to it. Track 4, Soft Power, begins with this amazing goth synth, but you've still got this underlying kind of pulse of the haunted club with the shimmering ghostly synths that come in during the chorus.
We're not sleeping at the wheel is turning the machine that kills.
Lyrics are impressionable but unforgettable. Broken glass is luxury. Friendly fires are alchemy. Daylight is the enemy. Witching hour, soft power. And then the chorus. We're not sleeping at the wheel. The wheel is turning the machine that kills for us. So freaking cool. I love that. I really love the lyrics to this song. Almost my favorite on the record. Maybe my favorite on the record. It just really spooky. And, again, impressionistic. You can say they're nothing lyrics, but you can also put a lot of stuff to that. It's very visual, I guess. Like, it makes me want to paint or draw, like when I listen to that and when I think about that. I love the middle part around 1:40 when both Helen and Mira intone this kind of spell in only 2 lines. The arrogance of the forests, setting fire to the tourists. This track works some kind of soft power spell on me, for sure. It's one of my absolute favorite songs on the record. It also works as a good track on a Halloween playlist, so keep that in mind for next Halloween. Track 5, CMYK. It's a cool instrumental interlude or a segue that sounds rather dreamlike. I like how they didn't try to darken it because it adds kind of a different color, a little different mood to the album. By track 5, the songs have been somewhat varied, but they've skewed darker, and so this one kind of without breaking the spell, it kind of lightens things up a little bit. Instead of sunlight, it's like candlelight. They added a little candlelight, or like LED flickering fake candlelight. Track 6, AMTV. I love their sassy electropunk songs. Whenever Mira Arroyo takes the lead vocals, it's always like a cool kind of punk song. Not really punk, but it's like the punk DNA is in there, and I appreciate that. This song harkens back to their 2002 album Light and Magic. And actually, at first, when I heard this song, I felt like it was a little bit out of place on this album. Like, I like the song as like an electro-punk kind of, it has a really unique sound. But at the same time, I was like, it's just so like a sudden shift on the record. But after listening to it many times, I felt like it adds a different color, and it kind of adds this like almost like a cyberpunk element to, the witching hour. The droning, druggy fuzz is replaced with this kind of sharp, the fangs come out. The fangs come out of the fuzz that were there all along. We suspected they were there, and on this song, they really come out. Lyrically, it seems to be about an actress or a model in a difficult situation. She sings, "Films will come and films will go. That kiss on your neck won't show. Posing at the same place every time when you're still speaking in the sunshine." Again, the sun comes in. The repetition of the song is echoed in the lyrics. She keeps posing in the same place every time. She keeps making the same mistakes. And then, of course, the sunshine is removed from this world. By the third verse, she has this great lyric that's like deceptively complex. "In your eyes, we're meeting in the morning light." That is a really cool line. If you think about that, that is actually really clever. "In your eyes, we're meeting in the morning light." And then the chorus is, "Down in the dark. We're desperate. We're depressing. Watching TV at 4 a.m. That's not when she needs a friend. Staring at the bathroom floor. Please don't say you've got to go." And then that's made worse by a later verse where she repeats, "You've done it again. You've done it before." So this is a pretty dark song, actually. I wonder where she got the inspiration for this. Something happened to her or someone that she knew. Yeah. All right, next, track 7, Sugar. Sugar! Not that sugar. This is an absolute banger. Like, what more can I say? I love this song. It's very simple, but it's very awesome. I saw online some people were talking about maybe this song was about cocaine, because the slang for cocaine is sugar. But sugar can also mean sex. And so, I mean, if you look at it that way, this actually kind of makes more sense. This is a transaction during the witching hour, whether it's drugs or sex. If I give you sugar, will you give me something elusive and temporary? The first time I heard this song, I thought she said, if I give you sugar, will you give me something illicit and temporary? And that made it even druggier. Now, I don't have a lot to say about the song. It's just really cool. It's very repetitive, but like, I don't know, it works. I mean, that's... Again, 3 out of 4 Ladytron members were DJs. So, I mean, yeah, it makes sense, right? Kind of a companion to Destroy Everything You Touch. Another quote from an interview with XLR8R, or Accelerator, in 2005. Daniel Hunt says, "Our approach goes back to the whole Eno Bowie low thing. The treatments are as important as the synths. We like to confuse synths and guitars quite a lot. There are some things people hear they assume is a guitar that's a synth, and vice versa. On the last album, there were guitars all over Cease to Exist, and a few of the other songs, but they were treated in a way that people didn't recognize them." And then from a Rare FM interview the same year, "It's the same thing with this record. Like when people heard Sugar, they went, they've gone guitar-y." It's a very British way. "They've gone guitar-y." The only guitar on that album is that high-pitched wailing sound. The rest of it is synths, and the drums are drum machine. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so I would have also thought that there were guitars on this, but what do I know? I'm not a producer. All right, track 8, Fighting in Built-Up Areas. Another song that showcases Mira Arroyo's awesome vocals and presence. This song is one that I sometimes would skip because it doesn't do that much for me sonically. I think if I could understand the lyrics, I would appreciate this song more. I'm a really big lyrics person, and so when I can't understand the lyrics, a song really has to work hard to to make it memorable for me. Unless it's an instrumental song. I like instrumental music. So that's another strike against it. It's not a bad song. I like it. It's probably my least favorite song on the album, but at the same time, I don't always skip it. Like, I can listen to this album all the way through. But I guess that would be maybe the weakest song for me. All right, track 9, The Last One Standing. This is another one of those songs that has bells in the chorus. What was with like the early 2000s indie rock songs? Every song had bells in the chorus, little xylophone bells. Like, what was with that? It's some kind of trend back then. But anyway, it's a great song. It's catchy as hell. A companion to Destroy Everything You Touch and Sugar. I love the bass sound. I love the weird guitars, if they're even guitars. And is that a tambourine, like deep in there? This is one of those songs, like earlier I was talking about, like I often hear something new on this record, even like 20 years later. I still find little sounds in the songs. And this is one of those. This is one of those songs that has such layers, and I feel like there's always like little ear candy in there that you can like discover or rediscover. And I like the fact that it can be about partying or playing video games or just about someone's ego. I love how she talks about like passing by video stores and like, hating Californians and like things like that. Or it's California? Does she say like California hates or California haze? I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure because there's no lyrics. They make this whole booklet, but they don't give us any lyrics at all. All right, track 10, Weekend. Another banger. Love the liquid bass on this song. Very intriguing lyrics as well. And Friday is the fever, and Monday the destroyer. You are a permanent feature, perpetual weekend. And Friday is the teacher, and Monday the tormentor. You are a new kind of creature, perpetual weekend. What's that perpetual weekend? Like perpetual motion? I wonder if this song is about partying too much or hating like the party scene, because again, going back to like the members of Ladytron being DJs, they're spending time in clubs and raves and whatnot. She repeats, you took the end out of the weekend. After she says, there's a city growing in my head where there is no weekend. And that kind of reminds me of, there's this band called Taco Cat from Seattle, kind of a punky, grungy indie rock band. And they have a song called I Hate the Weekend. I appreciate anti-weekend songs. I don't know, even though I crave the weekend. It goes against pop music somehow. It's kind of contrarian, like anti-weekend songs. It's amazing how many killer hooks and killer melodies are on this record. Like if you think about like the last song, like Last One Standing, or Destroy Everything You Touch, of course, Sugar, even International Dateline. I mean, these songs are just so catchy, so hooky. It's amazing to me that Ladytron actually didn't blow up even bigger with this album. I mean, this album was very loved at the time. I feel like now it's like a little bit... Is it still talked about? Do people still listen to this record? I don't know. I don't hear about it anymore. It's really, really an incredible like collection of songs. All right, track 11, Beauty Number 2, or Beauty Asterisk 2. Beauty Star 2. I don't know. I could make a whole 30-minute video just about this song alone. I love this song. This is one of my favorite songs of all time by any band, any genre. Sonically, it's so dreamlike. It's so fuzzy and hazy, and I love the unique structure of the song. It has just a couple verses, and then the chorus is held until like the last half as a climax, kind of catharsis. Lyrically, it kind of reminds me of something that Tom York would write, almost. Simple words about alarms and domestic situations, twisted into something stranger. I almost get like a science fiction vibe, like the cyberpunk thing I was saying earlier. It's so surreal, like even the words like beauty number 2, like you're my beauty number 2. It almost sounds like menacing and inhuman. Like I'm thinking of like Radiohead's Kid A, the cloning or something like that. A weird way to refer to someone. I like the lyric, funny how I'm not laughing now. And I used to get chills listening to this song. I think I've listened to it too many times now, but I still love it. I never get tired of it. I love the space. Like it's not so layered like a lot of the other songs on here. It has a completely different kind of sound, yet it still fits with the record. Yeah, I love how they allow it to breathe, and I like how there's like the breathy kind of vocalizations that come in between the verses. It adds to the moodiness. I love the way it builds up the damaged synthesizer interlude between the verses instead of a chorus. the push and pull of the beat that's kind of like, it almost has like a wave-like feeling. Oh my god. Just stop watching this video, go listen to Beauty Star 2, Beauty number 2. I love this song. God, I love it. It's amazing. The first time I listened to this album, I thought that this was going to be the closing track because it was just so beautiful and so strange. And also, I feel like this is, what is this? Track 11, right? Track 11. So track 11, 12, 13, like something kind of shifts here. Track 12 is still kind of a standard, fits with the previous album, but like track 11 kind of shifts toward track 13. I almost actually wish they were flipped and you would have a White Light Generator before Beauty number 2. So it'd be like White Light Generator as track 11, Beauty number 2 as 12, and then track 13 all the way. I actually think that would make it even more perfect because it just, Beauty number 2 has that shift and then all the way kind of continues that. But anyway, track 12, White Light Generator, one last banger. It kind of breaks up the somber mood that was put forward by track 11. And this is a pretty good song. It's not one of my favorites. I felt like it could be a B-side, but it's grown on me over the years, you know. I used to sometimes skip it to get to the final track all the way, track 13, but over the years, I don't know, I got used to it, and it's an alright song. And then track 13, All the Way, kind of continuing the vibe, the really somber vibe from Beauty number 2, track 11. Someone called this a tearjerker, but I think it's just a great album closer. I don't particularly find it like that sad. I just think it's like a beautiful frozen epilogue to this whole album, you know. There's still no sun, but now the snow is falling. And my favorite lyrics in this song are, all the way they heard the sound of the snow falling. They left the house and started running. I will let you know when it's time to be leaving. Don't want the same ghosts for company this evening. And that will echo on Velocifero, there's that song Ghosts. There's a ghost inside me that wants to say I'm sorry. Doesn't mean I'm sorry. I love how the chords ascend and fall back and kind of give way into this anxious, frozen hope. You know, it may be the witching hour, but we are going all the way into and through the barrier between worlds. Ladytron is going beyond their old sound into something completely new, into the new territory and into the next evolution of this amazing band. There is one more track on this album called Witching Hour. It's a secret track, and it's only found on the original initial CD release. And it is just silence for 9 minutes and 4 seconds. So, meh. The one bad thing that I can say about this record is that it cast a shadow, a very long shadow, that I feel like Ladytron still cannot escape from. Some of the stuff they did on Gravity the Seducer was pretty interesting because they were kind of moving away from the Witching Hour sound, or they were kind of evolving the sound. But I feel like a lot of their later stuff, like Ace of Hearts or a lot of Velocifero, just kind of feels like Witching Hour again. And it's like, I feel like they can't really find, you know, how to evolve their sound in a way. It's not to say I don't like Ladytron. I really love Ladytron. I think they're a really interesting band. I'm always curious, you know, when they come out with a new record. But I just feel like Witching Hour is the peak. And anyway, this video was long, and I thank you for sticking with me. If you stuck with me to this point, thank you so much for watching. Please give me a comment. Tell me what do you think about this record? What's your favorite song? What do you think about Ladytron? Do you like some of their newer music? Do you prefer their really old stuff, like you know, from the beginning, the AI girlfriend, computerized beats, and Kraftwerky stereo labbiness? That's all I got. This has been another episode of Late Listening. I'm Chris Crescent. I'll see you again.